right, so come on up to the front edge of your seat and bring your feet underneath your knees. So if you have your shoes on, you want to kick those off. And spread out your toes. Lift them up. Place them down. There we go. Good. And just notice what your toes feel like this morning. Have a look down there. How are they all doing? They good? Yep. Yeah? They're talking? So are they independent, or do you have a toe or two that's a little crossed over, or maybe kind of snuggled up close to the toe next to it? See if you can spread them out a little bit. Even if you have to reach down there with your finger and just kind of, especially that big toe, you might have to reach down there and just put your finger in there and just pull the big toe in toward the midline of your body a little bit and then place it down. And see if that helps. And when you get the toes down, just kind of press down a little bit into the bottoms of your feet. Press into your toes a little bit more. Good. And then notice where your body is in space. So we're going to kind of sit up a little bit so that the shoulders are right above the hips, right? So oftentimes we sit like this or we sit like this, right? So there's that kind of slouchy position. So we're here, we've got the feet on the floor, we've got the toes spread out, and then take your hands, spread your fingers nice and wide, place them on your thighs or on your knees or on your lap somewhere. And then just kind of give a little press of your fingers. Don't squeeze your legs, but just kind of press into your fingers a little bit and see if you can feel that pressure. So you got your toes on the floor. You got your fingers on your legs. You got your sitting bones on the chair. Can you all feel your sitting bones on the chair? You know where your sitting bones are, right? Your ischial tuberosities. We talked about that last week, right? Did you remember that? No? It's going to be on the final. And it counts, yes. It's a big part of your score. Okay, so pressing down into those sitting bones, and then lengthen through the crown of your head. So the crown of your head is like that little spot, what they call the fontanelle, when the baby's born, right? The fontanelle is the last piece that closes. It's the soft spot. So imagine that soft spot kind of reaching up toward the ceiling. So you don't have your chin like that, and you don't have your chin like this. You kind of have your head just kind of reaching up. And then relax into this body that we've now just kind of organized in a little different way. So how can you relax into all of this organization? If you'd like, you can close your eyes and begin to deepen your breathing. That's one way to relax into the physical body, is to just allow the breath to get a little longer, a little slower, a little deeper, going in and out. And notice if your breath is smooth this morning, or if it's a little jerky maybe in spots, right? So maybe it's hitching a little bit when you breathe in, or hitching a little bit when you breathe out. Maybe you feel like you can't get a deep breath. And then do you notice, does the air move evenly between the left nostril and right nostril? In other words, are you breathing in equally through both sides, or is one side more open than the other? And that's normal, by the way, to have one side more open than the other. It generally shifts every 4 hours or so during the day. And now as you're breathing in and out, where do you notice movement in your body? Can you feel it in your belly or your ribs? Can you feel it up under your collarbones? Can you feel it in the back of your body or the sides? So you've got your feet on the floor, the toes are gently pressing down. You've got a little bit of weight in the soles of the feet, so just a little bit of pressure in the soles of the feet. You've got your hands resting on your legs, and you feel a little bit of pressure through your fingers. Your shoulders are above your hips. That crown of your head, or the fontanelle, is reaching up toward the sky, toward the ceiling. And as you breathe in and out, your torso moves in response to that breath. And take one more nice full deep breath in. And then see if you can take in a little bit more. And then let that all out with a sigh. Relax your feet, your hands. Let your breathing go back to its natural pace, and then just roll your shoulders forward, up, back, and around a couple of times. You can let your eyes drift open. You might move your head to maybe turning your head to one side or bringing your ear toward your shoulder. So we're just doing a little bit of free movement here, what feels good. Try just that right side. What happens if you rotate the right shoulder and move the head in a way that supports that movement in the right shoulder, and then the left. And again, it's sort of a free form movement, so whatever feels good for you. And then relax all of that. Good. Let's take the hands off the lap, and we're going to start just by squeezing and extending the fingers. Squeezing and extending the fingers. Notice how the fingers are feeling this morning. Are they all feeling pretty good? Do you have one or two or maybe more that are a little creaky, a little crabby? Okay. And then we'll do a little starfish. So we bring the fingers way apart, like the thumbs are as far away from the baby fingers as they can go. And then we'll go into a bear claw. So it's like a grrr, right? So you get this little bear claw thing, and then we'll go into a fist. So we go to a starfish and a bear claw and a fist. And we'll just keep doing that, right? And you can do these in discrete movements. So you can do your starfish and then your bear claw and then your fist. Or you can do it in a sort of a graduated movement, right? So you're slowly opening and slowly closing. The key here is to make that little bear claw, because you want to be moving this joint on your fingers, right? So you want to make sure you're moving through all the joints of your fingers. That's why we do this, right? So just opening up. Notice, is it easier to make the bear claw or to open from the bear claw? And are you breathing while you're doing this, or are you holding your breath, waiting for the fingers to kind of catch up, right? All right, let's do that one more time. Good. And then let's circle at the wrists. And relax your shoulders away from your ears. Turn that down a little bit. Breathing in, breathing out. Good, and reverse direction. Good, and then see if you can bring the right, circle just the right, and then circle the left in the opposite direction. Just the wrist, not your elbow or your shoulder. Oh, reverse. Oh, what the heck are we doing here, right? That's what the brain's saying. What the heck are we doing here? All right, press the palms away and then fingers down. And up and down, and relax the shoulders down. So I see a lot of shoulders like that. So just kind of bringing the fingers up and down, and notice what's happening in the arms. So if your elbows are a little straighter, you'll feel that up into the top part of the forearm, maybe into the bottom part of the upper arm. Good. And then bring your hands kind of flat, and then we're just going to go side to side. Right, just at the wrists. So see if you can move like just your wrists. If this is too much having your arms out here, you can bring your elbows in toward your body and just kind of do it this way. Good. And now is everybody going like everything to the right, everything to the left? Yeah. See if you can go like the opposite way. I think of this as British windshield wipers, right? They kind of go like that. So kind of going in and out. Good. A lot of movement there at the wrist. Okay, let's circle around again and relax that down. Whew. Let's go right to the feet. Have a look down there. Lift up your toes. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's bring the heels out, or the heels out on the floor, and the front of the feet are raised up. So you want to have a bend in your knees. So in other words, you don't want to be straight out here. You want to have a bend in your knees. And now what we're going to do is we're going to scrunch the toes and extend the toes. And scrunch and extend. and keep breathing. So this is sort of like this, right? It's like what we did with the hands. Okay, so we're scrunching and extending. Now, the next time that you extend, imagine that starfish, right? As a matter of fact, let's do this. We'll have the hands instruct the feet. How's that? So have your hands show your feet what to do. So you've got your starfish hands and starfish feet, and then we're going to go to a bear claw in both. And you're saying, what? How is that possible, right? So here's the starfish, right? So they're spread wide. And then here's the scrunch, right? We're going to go halfway between the scrunch and the starfish. So it's kind of like a bear claw in the foot. Ready? Breathe. You can do this. So starfish hands and feet, bear claw hands and feet, and scrunch hands and feet, right? Starfish hands and feet, bear claw hands and feet, and scrunch hands and feet. And we'll continue to do this. Now, if you just have 2 gears here, if you just go from starfish to scrunch, that's okay. We'll work on getting that bear claw in the feet. It's a little harder, right? This is a nice thing for those of you who've done my foot class. Use your toe spacers to do this. It's really interesting. In a good way. In a good way. Okay, how we doing? Is anybody breathing? Okay, take a breath. One more time, all the way through. So from your starfish to your bear claw to your scrunch, and then relax. Okay, let's let those hands have a little bit of a break. We're going to take the right foot, bring it back, and bring your foot into like that Barbie foot position, right? So the toes are extended. You're feeling the toes extended, right? And you're going to push down into the toes almost as if you're going to stand up, right? And breathe in and breathe out, and then relax that a little bit. And then again, that Barbie foot, press down into the toes. So we're really stretching. We're really stretching, especially the big toe here. So if your little toe isn't on the ground, it's okay. I'm not worried about that right now. We're just really working on this big toe. Pressing the foot down, and we're pressing the big toe into the floor. So you're really activating that big toe and relaxing. Excuse me. And then one more time. Pressing that big toe down into the floor. And then relax. Good. And bring that foot out. Let's take the left, and we're going to bring it back. Same thing. So you just you want to extend through the bottom of the toes. Coming into that Barbie foot. Press down into the foot, and especially into that big toe. Give it a really good press. Breathe in, breathe out. And relax. And again, pressing down. Really press, press, press. And relax. And one more time, we're going to press down into that big toe. I want you to really feel that in the big toe, in the arch, in the top of the foot, wherever you're feeling it, maybe even into the heel or the back of the leg. And relax that. Good. Let's bring that foot forward. Okay, now we're going to just stretch the top of the foot. So take your right foot back, and it's the opposite of Barbie foot, right? So you're pointing your foot like that, like a ballerina, right? But you're bringing the top of the foot on the floor. And you're going to press down, but much more lightly than you did when you were pressing into your toe, because this is a vulnerable position for the ankle and the top of the foot. So you're just going to give it a press till you feel a nice stretch there, right? So a nice stretch, and then let off. And then again, pressing down, get a nice little stretch there, and then let off. So your foot, this part of your foot is on the floor, not this. Pressing down. Good. And one more time. Just give it a little bit of a press. And then let go. Good. Bring that foot to the floor. Let's take the other foot. Same thing. Top of the foot on the floor. Give it a little press. And breathe and relax. And press and breathe. And relax. And again, a couple more times. Just a couple more times here. Pressing the top of the foot. And you can have your foot way back here if that's a little easier to get the whole top of the foot. So what we're stretching is the front of the ankle, the front of the lower leg. And one more time, we're going to press down. Good, and then release that. Excellent. Bring that foot to the floor. Let's take the right ankle, circle it around, reverse direction. Good. foot on the floor, other ankle, circle it around. Snap, crackle, pop out there. And reverse direction. All right, and then bring that foot to the floor. So let your feet stay underneath your knees. Close your eyes for a moment and just kind of notice what you feel in your feet. Notice if you're more aware of your feet, your toes, the tops of your feet, the soles of your feet, maybe your ankles and your legs. So we just did a little bit of work to wake up these parts of the body that we generally don't move too much, especially if you're in shoes a lot. These are the types of movements that your feet are not getting on a regular basis. Let's take a breath in, let it out with a sigh. We're going to move back up to the upper body, give those legs and feet a little bit of a break. We're going to work on the elbows. So we did some work for the wrists, so we're just going to bring the hands down in front, keep the elbows close to the body, and you're just going to bend and tap your shoulders. So nice and slow, just tapping the shoulders. Just feel, as you're doing this might feel like a very normal movement for your elbow, right? So nothing kind of wacky here, nothing kind of strange here. So we're just bending, trying to bring the hand up to the shoulders, trying to keep the elbows tucked into the body. And then the next time that your hands are down by your sides, we're going to stay here, and I'm going to ask you to rotate your upper arm out, right? So you're kind of rolling the shoulders out, and now your elbows, instead of being the side of your elbow close to your body, it's almost like the bony part, the funny bone part, is pressing close into your body, right? Okay, so now we're going to bend and come up. This should be a little harder. A little harder? Yeah. And you got to keep your shoulder blades squeezed together to keep those arms rotated, right? And you're breathing. And you're having fun. Good. Okay, one more time. It's just a little harder. Okay, relax all of that. Roll your shoulders a little bit. And now we're going to bring the arms out to the sides with the palms facing up. And your hands are a little lower than your shoulders. Sorry, I forgot to have you guys space out beforehand. Sorry about that. Okay. We all there now? Yeah, sorry. Okay, so what we're going to do here is bend and tap and extend. Now keep your upper arms parallel to the floor. So don't let the whole arm move like that. We're keeping the upper arms parallel to the floor, right? So again, should be a fairly easy movement to do for many people, unless you're having a shoulder issue or you're having an elbow issue. And then the next time you have your hands on your shoulders, just kind of pause here for a moment, and you're going to make light fists, okay? And imagine you're holding a 3-pound weight in each hand, right? So we're going to really slowly bring the arms out with that 3-pound weight. Good, and we're breathing, and very slowly bring that 3-pound weight in. And when you get here, you're going to squeeze the Popeye muscles, right? Squeeze those biceps muscles, and then coming out nice and slow. So we're doing this with 3 pounds. How's that feeling? Is that a good weight for everybody? Good. All right. We'll stick with that for just 2 more of these. Good. All right. Next time your hands in toward your shoulders, just kind of relax there a little bit. Whew. And now we're going to imagine instead of 3 pounds, we're going to go to 5 pounds. Whew. All right. So if you're ready, super slow with those 5-pound weights, just imagine 5 pounds coming out. So the slower you extend, the stronger you're going to get. We often think that we get stronger when we bring the hand to the shoulder, but it's actually the opposite. It's when you're squeezing these muscles and you're lengthening them, that's when you're actually getting stronger in the muscles. Good. So 5 pounds. Is that feeling okay for everybody? Yeah, 5 pounds is good. Can you breathe okay? It's amazing, right? Okay, one more time. Out and in. Good. See if you can keep those 5 pounds with you. And we're going to go up overhead. So again, nice and slow. Go way up overhead with those weights. And then as you come down, you're going to bring your elbows back and squeeze your shoulder blades together. So we're going up, and then we come back, squeeze the shoulder blades together. So we're kind of going in that forward. You can go forward of your face here, and then you're pulling down. Really pull down, pull down. Breathe in, breathe out. Everybody's looking good. These weights are getting heavy up here. I don't know about you guys, but these are getting heavy up here. And one more time. And then relax your arms. Let your hands rest on your lap. Close your eyes. Feel your arms, your elbows, your shoulders. We did a little bit of work for the shoulders as well. It got right up there. Take a nice breath in, let it out with a sigh. Okay, and then we're going to move this right shoulder a bit. So take your left hand and place it way up here, kind of like you're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, but go up a little bit higher, right? Your fingers are facing toward your shoulder that way. And then you're going to take your right arm and sweep it up and around. Now with your left hand, you should be feeling the muscles right here, right? These are your pectoral muscles, your chest muscles. If you can't feel it, if your shirt's too thick, you can go under your shirt and just kind of put your hand there. You can feel when your arm goes back, you're stretching those pectoral muscles, right? And when your arm comes forward, they relax a little bit. How about next time your arm is down toward the floor, we switch direction, right? So coming up and around and breathing in and breathing out. So nice big movement here, good. And then bring your hand back down to your lap. Let's do the other side. So same thing, kind of with your hand right there on your upper chest. Your fingers are facing your shoulder, but you're not up here. You're right down here on your chest. And then start that arm up and around. Good. And notice if you can feel those pectoral muscles getting a stretch here as well, right? So the pectoral muscles come from your chest and they go out to your arm, and they are important muscles for supporting your shoulder, for giving you strength and stability in that shoulder joint. We sometimes forget about that. We work on the back side of the shoulder, we work on the outside of the shoulder, and then we forget the chest. Next time your arm comes down by your side, we're going to switch direction then, coming up and around. And the reason I like to have the arm down when we switch direction is because it puts your shoulder in a much more stable position, so that when you switch direction, you're less likely to like pinch a little tendon or something up there. Shoulders don't have a lot of space. They have a lot of tissue, not a lot of space, and they are hugely mobile, right? So how about one more time up and around? Excellent. Good. And relax that. So now we just kind of did some work for the shoulder. Now if you put your hands on your lap, close your eyes, see if you can feel your pectoral muscles in the front, because you just had your hands there. So there's that sort of sensation. There's like an echo that happens after we do a movement. And it's where we direct our attention that we often will hear or feel or sense that echo. Okay, let your eyes open. We're going to shift gears again. We're going to go down to the lower body. So let's work on the knee a little bit. How many people have like cranky knees? Nobody. Excellent. All right. So sitting up nice and tall with the hands right alongside the body, we're just going to take that right leg, bend, and extend, right? So slow gives you more benefit. Fast, you can get there quicker, but it's not going to benefit the muscles as much. So the next time that you extend, that's with the legs straight, you're going to hold there for a minute and really squeeze these muscles here in the upper thigh. And then we're going to bend, and you're going to squeeze the muscles in the back of the thigh, right? So when you extend, you're squeezing the muscles in the front of the thigh. Anybody remember what those are? Quads. And when we bend, what are those muscles? Hamstrings. Awesome. Good. So we're bending and extending, and we're given a little bit of a squeeze at the end range. So the end range for the quads is when we're extended, fully extended. The end range for the hamstrings is when we're fully flexed or bent. All right? Okay, how about one more time? Forward and back. Good. And then foot to the floor. Whew, let's go to the other side. So same thing. Just starting out nice and slow, just kind of feeling. I like to just kind of go back and forth the first few times just to feel what my range is like this morning, right? Because my knees are not the same, and one really dictates what happens to both. So if one is a little cranky, I want to make sure I warm it up a little before I get into really strengthening. So the next time that you extend your leg, squeeze those quads, And then you're going to bend and you're going to really squeeze the hamstrings. Now, hands alongside your body just helps keep your spine in alignment, because what can happen after a while when I get tired, I can start to lose my position here with my spine. So that just kind of helps me stay in that integrity. So you're just holding the extension for just a beat, and then you're holding the flexion or the bent knee for just a beat. Just kind of extend a little, bend a little. That leg should be feeling pretty tired right now. Yeah. One more time. Back and forth and down. Excellent. Whew. All right, let's scoot over to the right side a little bit. So we're going to move up from the knees, because the knee bone is connected to the hip bone. So we're going to take that right leg, just walk it out a little bit, and then walk it back. So as you're doing this, I want you to notice what part of, or parts, are actually getting some movement here. So you should be seeing movement. Well, I'll ask you, where do you see movement? Ankle, yeah. Hip, yeah. Where else? Toes, yes. Whole leg, right? The whole thing. The lower leg is kind of moving. You got two bones down there, and they're kind of working around each other a little bit. You got this upper leg bone that's going in and out. Next time you got the foot out, let's kind of hold it here. So we're got like maybe 90 degrees. If you drew an angle from your knees to your groin, you got about 90 degrees, maybe a little less. And we're just going to let that knee fall in and then pull it out. And fall in and pull it out. Now have your heel underneath your knee. In other words, you don't want to have your foot way out here. You want to have your heel under your knee. That just gives you a little leverage when you're bringing that knee in and then bringing it out. And this amount of movement is maybe restricted by the movement, the outward rotation you have at your hip. It could be your knee or your ankle. It could be your clothing. If you don't have stretchy pants on, your pants may be actually inhibiting this a little bit. And then the next time that you have your knee up, or toward the back of the room, I'm going to have you just really engage the muscles here in the side of the leg and the side of the hip, and pull that knee more strongly toward the back of the room. So just keep pulling that knee toward the back of the room. And you're going to take your right hand to the outside of your left leg, your left hand slide along your chair as you twist to the left. Now keep pulling that right knee toward the back of the room. Don't let it come forward. It's going to want to come forward. And you're going to breathe 2 breaths here. Ready? There's 1. And 2. And then unwind your body. Relax your leg. We're going to bring it back around. And we're going to scoot right over to the left side. So same thing here. So let's start with that left foot, just walking out and walking back. And again, noticing, do you have the same sensation of movement on this side? Is it different? Do you feel more in your toes or your ankle? Do you feel more in your knee? Is there less movement in your ankle, your knee, your toes? What about your hip on this side? Is there some restriction here that you didn't have on the other side, or is there less restriction here than on the other side? There's all kinds of questions. That's the one great thing about doing these movements, is it gives us the opportunity to just kind of ask those questions and then notice. Okay, so the next time you're at like 90 degrees, so between your knees from where your groin comes out, have your heel underneath your knee, that's on the left side, and then we're just going to drop the knee forward and then pull it back. And drop forward and pull back. And breathe in and breathe out. All right? So just noticing what that feels like. Again, the rotation on one side can be different than the other. If you've had a hip surgery, if you've had a hip replacement, even if you've had a knee surgery or a knee replacement, that might impact how your leg moves in and out in this fashion. Okay, and then the next time that you have your knee lifted toward the back wall, I'm going to have you really pull that knee toward the back wall, sitting up really nice and tall. We're going to take the left hand to the outside of the right leg, and then take your right hand and slide it along the chair, And we're just going to twist all the way out to the right. Keep that left knee pulling toward the back wall. Don't let it come forward. Breathe in, breathe out. When you exhale, you might try pulling your belly in. So pull your navel in toward your spine. You might find you can get a little deeper into your twist. Breathe in, breathe out. Good, and then unwind your upper body coming all the way back around. Good, we're going to take that foot and walk it back in. Come right back to the center of your chair. And you're right on the front of your hill, or on the top of your hill, right? So we're going to go back to the right side. So we did this movement of the hip sort of in and out that way, right? So we got that movement here. And now we're going to do a little bit of rotation in the hip because that movement is available in that joint. So we're going to lift that right leg and just slowly circle it around. Now you can, if it's too much, you can always bring your foot to the floor, slide it in, come up, out, and slide in. If it's helpful to have your hands on your chair, I know it always is for me because it just gives me that perspective of where I am in space with my spine. I'm going to do that. Pull your belly in, that's helpful, and then bring that foot to the floor. Let's go to the other side. So we're just circling around. Once again, just noticing for yourself, are both sides the same? Is there a difference from side to side? Quite often there's a difference. And some of that has to do with your preference for movement, for how you sit, for how you stand, and then bring that foot to the floor. Okay, so we did some circles, and now I want you to think about your knee sort of being the what's creating the movement. We're going to try an infinity sign on the right side. It's like a sleeping 8, right? It's like if you take a figure 8 and you just put it over on its side. So we're just going in and out. So it's this movement, right? So we got all that movement going on. You're a little restricted in the chair. So for those who want to do this at home, I like doing it standing. You can hold onto your counter. Because you have a little more range to get the leg in and out to do this. Those are great looking infinity signs out there, you guys. Okay, bring that foot to the floor. Let's go the other side. So a little infinity. So you really want to rotate. So when you go out, you want to bring your foot up and rotate that hip out and then rotate the hip in, right? You really want to have some movement in the lower leg, right? How are we doing? Confusing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't do this movement very often, I bet, right? All right, and bring that back down. Let's take the hands, give the hips a little massage, because we just asked them to do some things that they probably haven't done in a long time, since you were 6, right? Okay. So just a little more hip work, and then we're going to go back to the upper body. So sit a little close to the edge of your chair, not so far that you're going to slide off, but maybe like right on the first part of the downhill side. And then you're going to take your feet wider than your chair, turn your toes out a little bit, and have your heels in front of your knees. In other words, if this is with my heel under my knee, I'm going to have my heel in front of my knee. Okay, so make sure you got good purchase on the floor. If you have socks on and they're slippery, I just want you to be aware. Lift all your toes, spread them out, and then place them down on the floor and give them a little bit of a push into the floor, okay? Keep your back nice and flat. We're going to have the hands on the thighs, and then we're going to come down. We're hinging from the hip with a nice flat back, like you can bring your chest to the floor, and then come all the way back up. Now you can use your hands to support this movement, so you can push into your hands as you come back up, or your hands can just be there just to, again, to keep your back in integrity. As you come forward, try not to lead with your chin. So in other words, we don't want to be doing this, right? I don't want to have my chin like this. I want to be looking right down at the floor. Imagine you could get your forehead on the floor. How's that? Wouldn't that be fun? We'd need a much lower chair, I would think, yeah. So a couple more of these, just bending forward and coming back up. So this is working the hip joints in a little different way. You should be feeling this in your hip joints. Is that a true statement? Yeah, good. And you might be feeling it other places as well. I won't discount that. Okay. Breathe in, breathe out as you're doing this. Good. These are movements we don't get very often with the feet in this position. In weightlifting, they call this a good morning, and they usually do it with a barbell on their backs. We're just going to do it without. Okay, one more time. And then come all the way up. Excellent. All right, let's take those feet together. Take your right leg, cross it over your left. Give those inner thighs a little squeeze. See if you can get the outside edge of your right foot to touch the outside edge of your left leg somewhere. Right? Somewhere. Sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to switch. Go to the other side. So see if you can cross. Get the outside edge of that left foot close or in contact with the outside edge of the right leg. Good. And one more time. Go back to the original side. Breathe in, breathe out. Sit up tall. Nice. Switch. Excellent. Excellent. Unwind that. All right. Thank you, legs. Give a little massage there wherever they need. Okay. Let's let the legs have a little rest, and we're going to go back up to the upper body. So we've done the wrists, we've done the elbows, we've done the shoulders. Let's bring it all together. Extend that arm out. So it's like you're saying stop to the person on that side of you. And then we're going to do a nice little swan neck where we bend the elbow, the wrist, and the shoulder, and see if you can bring the back of the wrist to that shoulder, and then press out. So we're just doing this little movement in and out. This is what they call nerve flossing. So it's like you're doing that to your nerves in your arm. You'll think of that next time you floss your teeth, right? Yeah. Here we go. It's good for the nerve because the nerves can get bound. So this is the reason we do it. I guess I should explain that. So the reason we do it is because the nerves can get bound in tissue. And when you floss the nerves, you literally are freeing the nerve from that bound tissue. So it's a wacky movement, but it's highly effective. Okay. So one more time. And we're just going to go to the other side. So let that rest. We're going to bring the back of the wrist toward the shoulder and then extend, or if you extended first, that's fine too. So we're all going to catch up, right? It doesn't really matter where you start because we're all going to get there. Good. So just kind of feeling that movement. Now, for some of us, we're going to feel it in the elbow. Some of us might feel it in the arm. Some might feel it in the back of the wrist or in somewhere in the wrist, the hand, the fingers. I mean, it can be all kinds of places because you have a lot of nerves that come down through your arm. And there's many places where that tissue can get a little bit bound. Okay. And relax that. Whew. All right. Let's take your right elbow, circle up and around. So we're drawing a nice big 0 or an O. And next time your elbow's down, switch direction, go the other way. Good. All right, let's go the other side. Nice big circle. So we got that elbow moving. And if you have some restriction in the shoulder, in the elbow, in the neck, and it doesn't allow you to have a huge circle here, just do whatever you can do. And next time your elbow's down toward the floor, reverse it up. Good. Okay. And then bring the arm back down. Let's take the hands and just place them up here near the shoulders. Can you raise your elbows up in front without lifting your shoulders up? Let's try that again. So bring everything down. Use your fingers to just kind of pull your shoulders down a little bit so you can feel, oh yeah, I have a much longer neck than I thought I did. So see if you can keep the length in your neck here as you lift up your elbows. Good. So the next time you inhale, I'm going to have you bring your elbows back behind you. Squeeze your shoulder blades together really tight, like you could touch your elbows back there. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring your elbows around and see if you can touch in the front. So we're breathing in as we bring the elbows back and breathing out and coming around. Now, not everybody is going to be able to touch in the front. Some people have some restriction in the shoulders, the arms. Some people have a little more anatomy in the front and they can't get the elbows there. So whatever is going on, you're just getting your elbows as close as they can be. and as comfortable as they can be. So breathing in as you come back, breathing out as you come forward. We're asking a little bit more of the shoulders right now. A little bit more of the shoulders. 2 more times. Going out, coming back. Good. Excellent. All right, and then relax that. Let the arms come down. Whew, close your eyes for a moment. And just take a moment to assess what's happening in your arms, your shoulders, your neck, your back, your chest. What do you feel in your feet, in your legs, your knees, your hips? All these different body parts. Take a nice deep breath in, let it out with a sigh. Let your eyes open. Okay. So I think last week we were doing a little bit of movement with the shoulder toward the hip and the hip toward the shoulder, right? We're going to do that again this week. So see if you can bring your shoulder down toward your hip and your hip up toward your shoulder. So we're just kind of leaning to one side. And then go to the other side. So it's like you're lifting your sitting bone. So if let's all be on the right side. So we're kind of leaning the right shoulder toward the right hip, and the right hip is lifting toward the right shoulder. Can you get your right sitting bone up off the chair? And then place it down. And then go to the other side. Got that? So don't lift your shoulder up, right? So your shoulder, so come back to center for a moment. I just want to explain this a little bit more. So your shoulder is moving toward your hip, right? That's this direction. And your hip is moving toward your shoulder. That's this direction, right? It's like a hip hike, right? So your shoulder's not coming up here. Your shoulder's going down. So let's try just the shoulder part, because I think this can be a little challenging, because again, this isn't a movement that you do unless you're in some crazy dance class. This is not a movement that you do every day. So let's take the right shoulder down toward the right hip and up, and left shoulder down toward the left hip and up. That's it. Just back and forth. So right shoulder down and left shoulder down. You can have your hands hang off the chair if that feels better. You can have your hands on your lap if that feels better. So we got that, right? So it's just the shoulder moving toward the hip. It's a very small movement relative to some of the movements we make, right? Okay. So now, sitting bones. You know where the sitting bones are, yeah? You can feel them, those ischial tuberosities. So we're going to lift the right sitting bone up and down. Lift the left sitting bone up and down. So just going back and forth. And as you lift one sitting bone, you're shifting more weight into the opposite one, right? So see if you can feel that across your low back. Can you feel that movement somewhere in your low back as well as in your hip? Yeah. And you might not, and that's okay. But that's sort of the goal, is to see if we can feel that. So we're not leaning the whole body, right? So I see some folks rocking. So you're not rocking your body, you're just lifting your hip. Very slight. There you go. Yeah. Better. Okay. All right, let's all take a breath. So now we're going to combine those movements, right? And we'll see what that feels like. It's a movement that gets at parts of the body that we don't normally move. And that's what I'm all about. Because when we move in habitual ways, I move the same body parts all the time, and I don't move other body parts, I'm not getting I'm not getting good, nutritious movement. I'm not getting movement that nourishes my whole body. I'm just getting movement that maybe overdoes it on some parts and doesn't do enough on others. So we're going to take that right shoulder down toward the right hip, and the right hip up toward the right shoulder. Got it? Okay, and then drop that down. Okay, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Get your left shoulder down toward your left hip, and bring your left hip up toward your left shoulder. And then drop that down. Good. Right side. And left side. So resist the tendency when you're bringing your right shoulder to your right hip. Sometimes we'll lift that left shoulder. Don't lift the left shoulder. The left shoulder's just hanging out. It's waiting its turn. Got that? How are we doing? Yeah? Confusing? A little bit? Want to be a little more confused? Okay, relax your body for a second here. All right. So give your back a little bit of a massage. So we're using some muscles that are deep, like in the sides of the waist. We're using some muscles in the back. And we're also getting some movement in the sacrum. Do you all remember your sacrum? It's like a triangle. It sits right there. So your hip bones are here, and then the triangle sits right here. And right along where the sacrum joins the hip bones is called your sacroiliac joint. Have you heard of that before? Yes, or SI joint. So anybody who's had an injury go, oh, my SI joint is killing me. So your SI joint, your sacroiliac joint, it needs movement, right? We often think, oh, the sacroiliac joint, that shouldn't move, but it actually needs movement in order for us to have movement. When I get a back pain or I have a back issue, I stop moving that. I start bracing that, and that can become a habit, especially if I've got back pain that lasts for a while. That can become a habit, and then I have very little movement in that part of my body. And again, if you've been in my foot class, you know if you don't use what's available to you in one part of your body, it just outsources that movement somewhere else, and it might be outsourcing it to a part who can't handle the job. So we're getting some movement in that sacroiliac joint. So the next little piece of this that we're going to do, we're going to bring the shoulder to the hip and the hip to the shoulder, but we're going to keep the head level, right? So this is how we've been doing it, right? Kind of like that. Now we're going to keep the head straight. So we're actually kind of moving the head in the opposite direction, right? So it kind of looks like this. And you're going, how are we doing that movement? All right. So take your right shoulder to your right hip. Take your right hip up to your right shoulder, and now move your head to the left. Got it? And breathe. And then come back. We'll do it slow. Take your left shoulder to your left hip. Take your left hip up to your left shoulder, and then bring your head to the right. And relax that. Okay, take a breath. Because again, we're getting more complex, right? So we're doing less complex movement to more complex movement, and movement that you don't even think about throughout the day. But you're actually doing this every time you walk, just so you know. This is kind of what you're doing every time you walk. So you're bringing your right shoulder to your right hip, so you're dropping that shoulder down, and you're bringing your right hip up to toward your right shoulder, and you're taking your head, you're not turning to the left, but you're taking that ear toward the left shoulder, right? I shouldn't say right, correct? I don't want to say right because then we get confused with right and left. And then relax that. Okay, left side, shoulder to hip, hip towards shoulder, head to the right. And relax. So let's do that a few times. Right, so we're bringing the shoulder and the hip toward one another, and the head goes in the opposite direction. So if you do this enough, can you see how this is walking? Right? Because if you didn't keep your head level when you walked, you'd walk like that. And that would be goofy. And you'd likely fall. Right? So let's do that a couple more times. Good. How about one more time on each side? Good. Okay. Take a moment, close your eyes, and notice where you feel that. So again, some of us are going to feel it in the kind of the waist, the sides of the waist. Some of us are going to feel it in the low back, in the sacroiliac joint area, right? So take your hands, give yourself a little massage wherever you're feeling this. So a little massage back there or to the sides. And you can dig in with your thumbs a little bit if it feels okay. Okay, and then release your hands. And let's just kind of, with the hands on the thighs, let's just kind of roll forward a little bit. So you're making your body, the shape of your body is like a shrimp, right? So the shrimp kind of curls in. So you've got your hands here kind of supporting you. You're like a little shrimp. And then you're going to uncurl from your little shrimpness into this extension, right? So we're just coming down into that little shrimp. And try not to lift your chin too high. So you just want to keep your head sort of level. This is more about the spine from the shoulders, say, down to the tailbone. Do y'all know where your tailbone is? Yep. Do you know what's right above your tailbone? Your sacrum, right? So your sacrum is that big triangle that we were just wobbling forward and back by doing that exercise. So the tailbone actually, your tailbone actually curls under. Did you know that? Your tailbone doesn't stick out. Your tailbone actually curls under. A couple more of these. Good. Excellent. And then coming back to sort of that neutral position. So now that we've got things really warmed up in the spine as well, we're going to do a little bit more twisting. So take your left hand to your right thigh, take your right hand to your chair, and just kind of give yourself a little bit of a twist out to the right. See if you can turn your head all the way around, like you could see the person behind you. And breathe in and breathe out. And then unwind from that. Good, and we're going to take the right hand to the outside of the left leg and then slide your left hand along the bottom of the chair into the back. And then we're just going to twist all the way out to the left a little bit here. Good. And then slowly come back to center. We'll go back the other way. Breathing in, breathing out. Excellent. And coming back around one more time to the other side. Good. And coming back to center, and then make yourself comfortable. So if you want to stay seated where you are, you can. If you want to slide back and use the back of the chair, give your spine a little bit of a rest, you can do that. So whatever works for you. When you get there, close your eyes. And just take a moment to notice, starting with your feet. If your feet are on the floor, and if you're sitting in the back of your chair and you have shorter legs, your feet might not be touching the floor, and that's okay. So just notice what you feel regarding your feet. What are they touching? What are they not touching? If you have socks on, do they feel warm? Can you feel the inside of your socks? If you have socks off, do you feel the temperature of the cool air on your feet? And then going up to your ankles, your lower legs, your shins and calves, those two parts of your lower legs. And then your knees. What are your knees feeling like from the inside out? And your thighs. So you all know your anatomy in the thighs. So your quads in the front and your hamstrings in the back. And then your hips, your pelvis on the right, your pelvis on the left. Those are the bones. The big bones that we call the hip bones, they're actually the pelvic bones. And then notice your sacrum, right? So we just we're working that sacrum a little bit. That sits between the two pelvic bones. Your tailbone at the very bottom of the sacrum, and then your sacrum above it. And then above that is your lumbar spine, or your lower spine. Those are the biggest, chunkiest vertebrae that you have in your back. And then going up a little higher than your lumbar spine is your thoracic spine, where all your ribs click in, so that holds your rib cage together. Going up to your shoulder tops, out to your arms, so the front of your shoulders, the back of your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms or forearms, your wrists, your hands and fingers. Going back to your neck. And your neck is three-dimensional as well, so you have the front, the back, and you have two sides. And then your head sitting on top of everything, right? So your head is perched on top of your spine. It's sitting up there above your shoulders. So just get a sense of your whole body, from your toes to your nose, and from your nose up and around to the backs of your heels. And then the whole right side of your body. What does the whole right side of your body feel like? What kind of information is it giving you right now? And the whole left side of your body, what kind of information is that giving you right now? And as you breathe in and breathe out, where do you feel movement in your body? Do you feel your chest expanding and contracting with every inhalation and exhalation? What about your ribs or your belly? And just notice how you feel being in your body right now. Does it feel different? And not just the individual parts of your body, but all of you. Is there more awareness, more space? We don't take enough time to just sit and admire and respect and be grateful for our bodies. And a good time to do that is after movement. So if you're a walker or a dancer, or you do some exercise classes that you love, it would be a really nice thing to just sit for 5 minutes or so afterwards with your eyes closed and just breathe into that body that just did all of that amazing movement with you. Take a breath in together, let it out with a sigh. And then if you'd like to maybe bring your hands together and just take one more moment in gratitude to your body, to yourself. And if you'd like, just opening your eyes and just acknowledging all these amazing people here in the room today. There's a whole bunch of us. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you all next week. Yeah.